Before we start the episode, I wanted to do a Patreon shout out for the $20 tier. If you are Jarito, which look at him, he's saying hello, you get a shout out on the show. So thank you, Angel Mezqua, Aztec God, Chris Danger Doom, Karam, Neatown, Not Mitch. Who is he? And Meredith, your boob is out. Thank you very much for your patronage. This episode is sponsored by Thanks for the Ride by Carlos Osuna. It's available on Amazon as a digital download, and the hard copy is available on September the 2nd. Go ahead and follow Carlos Osuna at Carlos Osuna BMT. The links will be in the description. It is a series of short stories looking at the world through a satirical lens, from the life of a cockroach to conversations with God. This book provides unique and comedic perspectives on life and the emotions that come with it. Thank you. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Isimo Podcast.
Isimo Podcast.
My name is Gerardo Alarcon.
I'm Dominic Angel.
And I'm Ryan Reyes.
And today, we would like for you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts. And please follow us on Instagram if you haven't already at IsimoPod, ISIMOPOD. How are you guys feeling, dude?
Good.
Good.
Down some coffee.
Real quick.
Yes.
Can we talk about our Patreon goal?
Yes.
Oh, I'll talk about it.
Go for it. What the fuck?
I thought you were going to talk. Okay. If you haven't already, we have a Patreon. $5 a month gets you bonus content, gets you early access, gets you access to our Discord, which is pretty popping right now as we speak.
Yeah, there's a huge fight happening in the Discord right now.
It's so funny how it started.
$20 a month. And
I'll put the thing back here right now.
We have a board with people's faces on it. You know, it's just a little extra just to say that, you like us and we like you too.
We love you.
We love you. $20 a month. So you can become a Jarito, or $5 is a Yorolanda. And we have a goal right now, 100 patrons. Once we hit 100 patrons, we're going to figure out how to do a live comedy show that will be available to our patrons, and it'll be live and have digital access.
Also, I think it should be said that we're working on putting your pictures up here. We're trying to work on the other side of my studio. It's a huge 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
What?
I forgot that was up there.
Yeah, we're going to work on putting pictures on the wall over here because we'll have more surface area.
We're going to do a proper collage.
Yes. And we're still waiting for some fucking pictures from you Jaritos out there, dude.
Don't yell. Don't curse at our patrons.
I'm sorry,
okay?
yeah. No, but please join the Patreon. It's really fun, and we try to engage with our audience as much as we can. It's very hard to engage with all the comments. I caught up yesterday on all the comments, and it's so many comments. So it's really filtered down into our Patreon, and we love talking with our fan base.
Yeah, we love it.
It's the month of September, and we were talking about that before, but Mexican Heritage Month.
Hispanic Heritage Month.
Hispanic Heritage Month.
So Hispanic Heritage Month is a controversial issue here in the huge mansion that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
It is
under
only
6 Flags.
Under 6 Flags, yes, thank you. It is 4 weeks. 2 weeks at the end of September and 2 weeks at the beginning of October. What is October mainly colloquially for, Dominic?
Spooky shit.
Yes.
Which is why it infuriates me that they gave us September and October, because we might as well just give us 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, you don't need to give me shit. All right. I'm gonna take it. Okay.
What?
I'm tired of their handing out months. Okay. You're going to give me 2 weeks at the end of September and 2 weeks at the beginning of October. Go fuck yourself.
Okay. Chill. Tell them to go fuck themselves.
So this is what we're doing on Isimo, okay? We're going to do a proper 4 weeks. We're going to take the month of September, and we're going to cover different historical figures or events that happen within Mexico or within the United States pertaining to Mexican history.
And we're going to try to be funny about it, so... Because that's what you come here for, right? You come here for giggles, right, Ryan?
Speaking of Mexican history,
what?
My birthday's coming up. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, his birthday's coming up on Monday. Please make sure to follow him on Instagram at the Ryan Reyes, right?
Yeah, I was gonna turn around, but I can't in this chair. It's on the back of my shirt.
Anyways, follow Ryan and leave him a DM saying happy 28th birthday.
He's 28.
He old as fuck, man.
26, dude.
He's turning 26. Sorry.
Okay.
Can you fix your mic a little bit? Just put. Yeah, I guess. Okay. So we're gonna try to be funny about it. All right, listen, we are not historians, right, Ryan?
I don't get to try food.
I did not go to college. I don't know how to do research.
I went to college for like 2 years.
I went to college for 3 years plus one more after the fact because I was like going through like quarter life crisis, but I didn't end up finishing. So I was a history major at first and then went to theater because theater's better than history, in my opinion. Look at us. We're theatrical Mexicans. Right, guys? Sorry, I'll never call you that again. But so we're going to try to be funny about it. I have a list of things here for pertaining to the Mexican Revolution. I think for this episode, we're going to mainly focus on Emiliano Zapata. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Emiliano Zapata. I can't.
How do you say it the first time?
Emiliano Zapata.
Emiliano Zapata.
That was the slowest I've ever heard anyone say it.
Yeah. Emiliano Zapata.
There you go. And there we go. We're teaching Ryan some Spanish here. That means really good with the gun. I'm just kidding. That is not true.
Full disclosure, when we talked about this, Gerardo hit me up and was like, I think we should research Pancho Villa. And I said, oh, that would be cool. Yeah, we could get into like Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata. And like, that would be cool because I always wanted to learn about Zapata. And then we went to our own quarters and did research. And he researched Emiliano Zapata and I researched Pancho Villa.
Yeah.
So and I researched, I swear.
You researched, I swear? That's what you researched? He's like, and I swear means no. So yeah, I did mostly Emiliano Zapata research. Keep in mind though too, I don't really know much about them to begin with, so it's new information that's going into my brain.
Can we start with that? Like what our knowledge is of these people?
Yes. So I'll start with Pancho Villa. When I was in high school, there was this guy. There was twin brothers, Stephen and Anthony Villa, but they were Stephen and Anthony Rodriguez, but they were direct descendants of Pancho Villa. So they had to change their name because their dad was on the run from the cops or something like that. And the mom, I think, wanted to change the name back. If that's wrong, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But they gave me my first guitar amplifier ever.
Tight.
And it was free. They just gave it to me.
That just like a Villa would.
Yeah. But also keep in mind, though, Pancho Villa, tell me if I'm wrong, was a whore, right?
He's a... Yeah. I wouldn't use those terms, but he.
Why not? Because they're designated for us. I'm just kidding.
I don't know what you just said.
No, it's also he deserved it. Let's be honest. I mean, he
had many wives.
Yeah, he was a whore, dude. Like that's If you have many wives, I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is a good guy. I'll be like, that's a whore. You know what I mean?
Why do you keep saying whore?
I'm sorry.
What's wrong with the word whore?
Okay.
But Pancho Villa. Well, go ahead and start with Pancho Villa, and then we're just doing a baseline of like what we know about Pancho Villa for now.
Well, my knowledge of I always got Zapata and Villa confused. Because they kind of look the same.
Okay, that's not true at all.
No. Well, the thing is that when I was a kid, like they're these figures, they're national figures, and they're used to symbolize strength. They're used to symbolize the underdog. They're used to symbolize righteousness, right? And so like. That's literally the only way that they were, like, I was taught about them was, like, I seen their pictures, and it was, like, the quotation that Pancho Villa was, I would rather die fighting on my feet than live on my knees.
Yeah.
And it's, like, it's a really cool quote, and it's, like, this idea of, like, standing up for yourself and standing against corruption and all this stuff. But I never knew the context of, like, who he was or what he did exactly. Or what Zapata did. Yeah. I just saw the pictures. I think I had a shirt. That said like, I'm Mexican, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Latino. Like, and then there was a picture of Zapata on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember that shirt.
Yeah.
And what about you, Ryan? What was your knowledge before in your research of Pancho Villa?
You bitch. No, I mean, like he helped me a lot with it because I'll be honest, I found, it might have been like the same one, but I found like a audio thing on it and I was listening to it and then I fell asleep during, so I don't remember any of it. But before yesterday, I would say most of it was like secondhand. It was just like stuff you grow up with as him, like being a figure. There was some small stuff that I retained. Like there's like one small fact that was mentioned in the podcast we listened to together that I remember I already knew because it was like a thing that was part of like the legend of him. Which was, well, I don't know if you want to say, but I mean, it's not that huge.
No, just keep
It's
going,
a thing of like, when he started, he only had like specific kinds of supplies, like coffee and what was it again?
He started with very with 2 pounds of coffee, 2 pounds of sugar, and a pound of salt, and
Yeah.
9 men.
Damn.
And
then
just
he
like
built
through,
an
you
army.
know, not bartering, but through like how he ran things with what little he had, like grew into a thing of like.
But what was your knowledge of him before we started researching?
Mostly just like that he was a figure that's important to us and like kind of the thing of the staple. I've heard that quote a lot that he mentioned too. And it was in the same way that, you know, like Zorro or Robin Hood are like known figures. They were real people and now they're known as figures.
Yeah.
But
Kind of like lower class idols.
yeah, but I would say like the reason he feels more real is because he was more recent. So there's like actual photos of him.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like that's how I knew him, is just like as a figure.
So, to preface it one more time, this podcast is getting closer to our Mexican heritage, right, guys?
Right.
So, we are attempting in this month of September to get closer to the history of our Mexican heritage.
Right.
Yeah.
So, starting with 1908, all right? Do you guys know about this? The Creelman interview. So, there was an American dude that went to Mexico, I think, or Porfirio Diaz, who was basically the dictator of Mexico, either came to Texas or something. But there was an interview where Creelman interviewed Porfirio Diaz, right? And he asked him a question. It was supposed to be like softball questions that you asked like a dictator of another foreign nation. But
The
he
ones
asked,
you ask every dictator.
yeah.
What kind of ice cream do you like?
What's your favorite sport, huh? Soccer. My people love soccer. Yeah. Okay. They would say football. Anyways, he asked him, when you step down, or how long are you going to be the dictator, basically, of Mexico, or the ruler of Mexico, and what will happen after you step down? This caught Porfirio Diaz off guard. And he said, bro, we're going to have... He's like, bro, we're going to have free elections in the country. Are you kidding me? You know, we're going to have democracy. Like, the people are going to vote for the next person. And so everyone was like, what the fuck? That sounds lit, fool, you know? Only to find out that the presidential succession of 1910, who did he get? Francisco... Okay, wait.
Francisco Madero was his opposing. He was running against him.
Okay, yes. And Emiliano Zapata loved Madero at this time, right? He wanted him to win.
A lot of people
Porfirio Diaz, what's it called? Rigged the fucking vote and won. Madero, right? I want to say his name right. Madero took over. Revolutionized, whatever. I don't know how to say it. What is this? What does he say?
He had a coup, military
coup on Porfirio Diaz.
Yeah. So just to take it a little bit step backward from there, Porifirio. How do you say?
Porfirio.
Porfirio. I'm just gonna say Diaz. Diaz came to power by overthrowing Benito Juarez. Right. And so he ran as a liberal under the Liberal Party. And obviously the term liberal has different meanings historically in different places. So it doesn't mean what it means in the United States. Yeah. But he ran under the Liberal Party, overthrew Benito Juarez and Santa Anna. And then he was elected president. And then his whole thing was no re-elections. Re-elections in Mexico, there's unlimited re-election, so you can become president forever as long as you keep getting voted in. So what he did was essentially he had puppet elections so that he would win every single time. Yeah. But he was a dictator, so everybody hated this fool. And when after the interview, that's when people were like, "All right, well, if that's what it's gonna be, then that's what it's gonna be." And Madero was this super wealthy dude, but like went to school all over the world, went to UC Berkeley, and like became like a bleeding heart, like super liberal dude, super like social justice kind of guy, and was like, fuck this fool, I'm gonna run against him and I'm gonna beat him. Well, this fool gets arrested.
Yeah. So in 1910, the 26th of June, 1910, Porfirio Diaz chose to arrest Madero during the elections.
Right.
Which that's so fucked, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I could either just like skim the ballots or let's just arrest him. Fool. Imagine if Donald Trump arrested Joe Biden. You know what I mean?
Tried to, I bet.
Yeah, right. Donald Trump's like, okay, so is there any way we can get this guy in jail?
Yeah. Everything that happens really does feel like what just happened in the United States. Like,
United States.
The United States. At United States. So he puts him in jail and then wins the election fraudulently. And so then what Madero does is he forms the re-election campaign and like starts putting together like small armies essentially. He starts calling on these revolutionaries who many people are calling bandits. Now a lot of them did start off as bandits and then became revolutionaries later. But it's important to separate the two, because bandits is literally people that would go around stealing, raiding villages and shit, and like sticking up trains and robbing banks and stuff. They were what the literal term bandit was. Pancho Villa was a bandit. You know. And
Los banditos.
Yeah. But there was a bunch of leaders that he pulled together, which was Emiliano Zapata, Pancho Villa, Orozco, I don't remember his first name, Pascual or Orozco, and some other fool.
So to preface this part now, from my knowledge, and please chime in anytime you want, Ryan. I'm sorry, we're overtaking this episode. I feel bad, but Emiliano Zapata, can you see my hands up here?
Yeah,
Emiliano Zapata grew up with horses. He was a horse trainer. I think his dad was a very well-known horse trainer. Had a little bit of wealth from horse training. I need to ask you a question. When did the government take away people's land? Is this under Madero or Diaz?
That's under Diaz.
Okay, so Emiliano Zapata, this incepted something inside of him where they took the land from the people, right? Which will come into play later. But I think it's important to say that Zapata grew up on a horse farm and was training horses with his dad that was well known for it. Right. Sorry, where were we?
No, land reformation plays a huge part in the Mexican Revolution. It's like one of the cornerstones of the reason why they're revolting. Yeah. I'm getting my dates mixed up, but like essentially,
what date are you looking for?
I don't know when it started, but so like Madero teams up with somebody named Abraham Gonzalez.
So on the 20th of November 1910, Madero escapes prison like a G, dude. Ryan, how would you escape a Mexican prison?
I don't know. I've never been to Mexican prison.
How would you?
There's a couple ways.
How?
Wait, are we talking about Madero or Villa? Because I know about how Villa escaped.
Madero. Madero was put in prison by Diaz so that Diaz can win the election.
Yeah.
And then, what is that? June to November. July, August, September, October, November. 5 months in jail, dude. Imagine? Jesus Christ.
Is that when we heard about it? Was he the one that was...
No, that's Villa.
No, but he escaped after Villa, right?
This was before Villa. They were separate at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the 1910s we're still in right now.
Yeah.
So he escapes from prison and then he teams up with who?
Abraham Gonzalez.
Okay.
And so,
which, by the way, how do you say Abraham in Spanish?
Abraham. I don't know.
You try.
I don't know.
Abraham or
Abraham?
I feel like Abraham is like what is it called? How the Jews say it. I could be wrong. Anyways, keep going.
So Gonzalez is kind of his second, like his protege essentially, and he's the one that gets the idea, I believe, but to like team up with these revolutionaries, with Zapatistas and with Villa. And he's the one that actually gets Villa to lead his army.
And I could be wrong though, but Zapata at this time was not the revolutionary that you know now. He was very chill with Madero going to power. So Madero escaping prison and all that, he loved Madero.
Well, that's important to note, is that during this time from 1910 to I think it was 1913 or 14, until Madero actually gained power, he made a lot of promises. He ran he made a lot of speeches about land reformation, about giving wealth back to poor people.
Yeah.
And he didn't particularly like revolutionaries because he thought they were just like a bunch of thugs, essentially. But he realized that they were necessary for him to gain power. Now we're jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
But what happened, the reason why Zapata hated this fool was because they helped him gain power. They became so much trouble for the federal army that Diaz knew that he was going to be killed. Yeah. So essentially he was like, all right, I'm out.
He's like, hey, this is cool and everything, but like I have to go. He went to America, right?
Yeah, he was exiled to America. He just took off and retired.
Which, let's be honest, if you're a political figure in Mexico, the last place you want to go to is America. You're like, damn, this place is way better. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, Diaz had comfort in America because the way that he ran. The reason why Mexico was so poor and the reason why the land reformation was so big was because Diaz was giving away resources and land to private American companies, because in his head he was like, if the United States is taken care of, then they won't get involved in our business. But guess what? They made their business Mexican business. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like he tried to give that up, and he's like, and then later on, then we'll fix Mexico and like it'll become sovereign and it'll become, a beautiful country.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a beautiful country.
It is.
Yeah.
I do feel bad though now because I made a joke earlier about how I'm Pancho Villa because I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. Dominic is Emiliano Zapata because
he's more rational.
And
Ryan's Diaz.
I take it back, Ryan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because
tell them why.
Because you piss us off.
Tell them why you said that.
You piss us off all the time.
No. Tell them the reason you told me why.
Why? Why did I say?
Because the fucking corn muffins.
Because of
the corn muffins.
They
looked like it. Even Madero was like, they do look like corn muffins.
Okay, yeah, but don't bring my girlfriend into this. Porfirio. I'm just kidding.
Porfirio. Yeah. So
anyway, sorry. I just wanted to I take it back, Ryan. We'll find another figure for you. Who was the other guy? As of right now, you are Abraham. Anyways,
that fool gets assassinated.
Never mind. You're not. I'm sorry. Every episode we talk back about you getting assassinated. It's not gonna happen, right? I'm sorry.
So yeah, they kind of rush Diaz out of the country, and now Madero is able to take power. Now, this is very important because what happens is when Madero takes power, he keeps the current government intact.
Yeah.
Because in his head, he's like, well, I don't want them to do a coup against me.
Yeah.
So let's just keep everything the way that it is.
Which will bite him in the ass later.
Yeah, because immediately Villa and Zapata are like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
so from my recollection of my research, Zapata went to go meet with Madero, not knowing that that's what his plan was, is just to reinstate the federal government. Let me know if I'm wrong too. This is my interpretation of what happened. Emiliano Zapata was like, what's up, homie? No, I'm just kidding. That's not my interpretation. Emiliano Zapata took his army to go meet with him, and it was a smaller army, and then he was surrounded by the troops of Madero, or the federal government, and he was told, if you want to meet with him, you have to surrender right now. And then that's what pissed Zapata off, turning him into Emiliano Zapata that we know today.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
But, yeah, well, essentially what happened when Madero took over was that he ordered all of the army that helped him gain power, he ordered them to disband and said to go back to normal civilian life. Didn't take care of them in any way. Didn't give them any like official positions. Didn't give them land. Didn't fulfill any of the the promises that he made.
Yeah, he made the Plan de San Luis, which was really a way for him to gain all that. What is it? Notoriety, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
that's my favorite word today.
Yeah.
I always have one word during the podcast that I always say, but that's what propelled him. There we go. That's a better word. Yeah. Into becoming the competition against Porfirio after he was ousted.
Yeah,
but he didn't follow through with any of those plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much just was like, that's the thing, is that all the research that I've done, they don't explain exactly what he did except for piss people off.
Yeah.
Like, and so during all this time, there's some fool named Huerta. I think his name is Victoriano
Huerta. If
that
you can see,
dude,
a picture right here.
yeah, that dude was a general. Was he a general for Diaz?
Let me see. He declared himself president of Mexico after the death of Madero.
So that guy, I found this out. Huerta was planning a coup against Madero the whole time.
Oh shit.
So like, yeah, Huerta helped him come to power.
I feel like Ryan's our samples in the background. He's like, oh shit.
He's our hype man.
Yeah, feel free to be the hype man for everything that we say.
I'm down. I meant to say more, but I'll say it right now.
I feel bad.
No, it's fine. It's not because you guys do. It's because there's been a peanut stuck in my tooth this entire time, and it's distracting me, and I just got it out.
Okay.
That's why he went.
I felt good.
So sorry, Victoriano Huerta.
So Huerta was working in cahoots with the United States ambassador for Mexico. I forget his name. His name was something stupid.
His last name was stupid.
No, I just don't remember. But Woodrow Wilson was the president at this time. I forget the guy's name that was the ambassador. But essentially, Huerta the whole time was going to the ambassador to be like, hey, if we're going to do this, will you back us up? And so that guy was like, yeah, of course. He had his own plans, right? And so essentially he gets like funding and like approval from because what happens whenever a country changes powers, especially through military force, there's a big thing. It's happening right now with the Taliban, where they go to the rest of the world leaders and are like, okay, you need to recognize us as the governing power. And so like Huerta worked with. Is
his name Henry Lane Wilson?
I think so.
Okay.
So there's two Wilsons.
Yeah. Woodrow and Henry.
Yeah, I knew his name was Henry. So when they finally overthrow Madero, he goes to them and they're like, all right, recognize us as the governing power. And Woodrow Wilson was like, I don't
speak Spanish.
No habla español.
Yeah, but they're essentially like, we don't care.
Yeah.
And we're not going to. So it was like, the whole situation with the Mexican Revolution is like, it's crazy fucked up because the United States was involved the entire time, but also was trying to keep their hands clean.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
And they just kept fucking up. They essentially were funding every single person that would gain power, and then once they gain power, they're like, that was a bad idea. We shouldn't have done that.
No hablo español.
Yeah, so then let's find somebody else to take that fool over. And then that guy gets to power, and the same thing.
It creates like a cycle of unrest.
Yeah, it really does. It's because it's like because
you got to keep in mind too, like you said before, Mexico's full of natural resources. They could be a prosperous nation if it wasn't for this fucking upstairs neighbor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It sounds like a similar thing. I'm sorry, it's technically unrelated, but there was like a similar thing in Africa. I forget which part of it, where like, they were never no matter like who they thought was like the best leader, they were never allowed to prosper for more than like a couple months or a few months to like a year, because there was always like coups and people fighting each other, and when one person would lose, they'd team up with someone else who lost and overpower whoever was winning.
Yeah.
It sounds like the same thing.
That's essentially what happened in Mexico, but what a lot of it's funny because different places you get different sort like that they get different. You get different information from, and they tell it different. But you find out that through one of the channels is like the United States was involved the whole time in overthrowing the next person, and then not liking who gained power. So, but it's like this whole they want to meddle because they want somebody like Diaz who's just has their business interests in mind. Yeah. And so they're like, okay, we'll help you overthrow this person because we don't like them very much, but we're not going to get involved, but we're going to give you guns and ammunition and supplies. And then and then when, of course, the fucking revolutionaries are like, yeah, we're gonna take your weapons and guns and supplies, and we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want. And then the United States is like, hey, wait a minute. So then they like, okay, who else can we get? It's like, but it's fucking disgusting because it's like they're just playing games with poor countries. Because the big thing about this, in my opinion, is that the dictators and the violence and wars is created through like oppressive environments and through creating desperation. Yeah. If these countries were able to survive on their own, then they wouldn't have these issues. And it goes all the way back to fucking Spain, to when Mexico and to when Latin America was New Spain. Yeah. Because they're the ones that created the caste system. They're the ones that took land. So one of the things that I learned was that, like, you know, there's the Aztec Empire. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to... I think this was supposed to be the Aztec episode, but I want to do independence first because independence is coming up in a couple weeks. And I think it'd be cool to, like, front load with actual Mexican independence. But I do want to talk about, because I did watch another video about the Aztecs and their history, basically. Good. We just watch videos. We don't read anything. I was trying to get as much reading as I could.
But I think we should touch on the Aztec Empire in another separate episode. Yeah. But go ahead and continue what you're saying, though. I just want to give a little...
Yeah. So this is just a small aspect, but a lot of people do know this, that the Aztecs essentially created a mutually beneficial empire where they would kind of take over smaller tribes, smaller villages, and they would have a system where those tribes would give tribute to the Aztecs. Now it gets complicated because, like I said, for a lot of cases it was mutually beneficial. They weren't like a harsh dictatorship. They would also give resources that those tribes needed that they had,
and kind of like a very modern sense, like security for those smaller tribes.
Right. Yeah.
You just made it sound like a gang.
Yeah, it is like a gang. That's what they did.
But like the good gangs.
Yeah, the good Aztec warrior
also,
gang.
I just wouldn't get this joke in, but how you described America's involvement sounds like the fucking premise to Suicide Squad.
Yeah, where they attack Latinos. Yeah.
Yeah. They just kill Latinos.
They gave us a starfish, but we fucked it up. Spoiler alert.
But so when it became New Spain, those tribes still had to give tributes, but now instead of giving it to the Aztecs, they were giving it to the Spanish government. Yeah. To royals, but there was no more beneficial like giving back. So essentially they were just taxing these people for no reason. And that helped start like this
descent.
Well, it's one of the reasons why land reformation was so big. It started 100 years prior, where their land was just taken and reallocated. Yeah. Their resources were just taken and reallocated. And like that's the start of that.
So I wanted to go back here. We're talking about lower class citizens, right?
Right.
So before Victoriano Huerta took power, after Madero died, before that happened, this is the one part I wanted to talk about with this episode. Emiliano Zapata wrote the Plan de Ayala,
right?
Which I don't know if you guys know about the Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolshevik Revolution was a big deal because it was the first time lower class citizens were able to overthrow higher class power, right?
Right.
And they wanted to, one of the many forms of reform, obviously communism, was to give lower class citizens free land.
Right.
You know, but here this happened before the Bolshevik Revolution, and it wasn't free land. It was land that was taken by Porfirio's government or the federal government that he was trying to give back to the people. You know? Which happened. Mexicans are better than Russians. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Learning about all this stuff has been tight because it helped me understand like Mexican pride and culture and nationalism and like the complex history that Mexicans have, and like also how smart Mexicans are. Like and how like I don't know, because we're always painted as like fucking poor dumb people. Everybody calls Mexico a third world country, and it's like the ideas and like that somebody like Zapata had, like the Plan de Ayala, like is kind of brilliant,
Yes.
you know, and what they were able to do, and the messages that they gave, and just like who they were, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on top of that, I think we're getting to my favorite part. Was Villa fighting against Huerta in 1913 to 1914.
Yeah.
So go for it.
This is what we were talking about. Pancho Villa,
It's dope.
he's pretty tight. So
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? Going back to the very beginning of the podcast, growing up, I idolized Pancho Villa. I wanted to have a Pancho Villa poster in my room because I thought he was just like that picture. Every picture of him is iconic.
He looks
tight.
tight.
But my mom and dad were like, he wasn't a good guy. But after reading about him and the revolutionary forces and whatnot, I'm like, this guy's amazing, dude.
So
I would say that's something I did remember about. For some reason, it felt like in America he was supposed to be seen as like a bad influence.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that comes from. I didn't get that far in my research.
Well, he killed a lot of Americans.
he killed 30 Americans.
That's a lot.
I think
have you
that's-
killed any?
What?
What?
Well, from what we were hearing, because we also didn't get that far in the episode before we had to record.
I got pretty far.
Continue.
Jesus. He made a point. I think that there's reasons why that came later, but that up until then, he made it a point not to involve the U.S. or attack the U.S. in any way, because he relied. He was smart and like he saw, how they were interacting with everyone else, so he knew it was important to use them as a resource.
Yeah.
So he made it a point where he kind of just. What was it? There was two parts to his growth and his development as a rebellion. One of them was reparation, and one of them was
Restitution.
So for reparation, so it became this Robin Hood thing where reparation was like anything he gained, he would either use to further the cause or he would redistribute to the area. And then restitution was like this kind of like thing where he still. The reason like a lot of people still called him a bandit is because he would do things like rob the wealthy and the corrupt and redistribute, and then he would like attack people he would like not police, but he was like a superhero. He was like Zorro.
Yeah. Suicide Squad. I'm just kidding.
There was one where a priest was accused of assaulting. What was you like?
He sexually assaulted a young girl, and so he was going to execute him. And then the town was like, don't do that, don't execute him. And so like his punishment was he had to stand in the town center and like scream his
announce his crime.
Oh, okay.
To the public.
Damn, that's crazy.
So Pancho Villa, yeah, a lot of people, he's called the Mexican Robin Hood. A lot of people think that he was just a thug. I'm always under the impression, like the idea that I have whenever I'm doing research is, where are these people getting their research from? Because the way that some people, like we both watched that video, that British dude who is giving like a rundown of Pancho Villa, and the way that he describes like what he did and like killing people and he attacked this town and this and that, like it's very flippant.
Yeah.
It's very like, yeah, this dude obviously is not a great dude.
Yeah.
But how did he get to be beloved if he wasn't doing something, right? So I'm going to say, like, look, I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in killing people and in that type of punishment. I think he's a very flawed person. I do think that I don't want to say he was ruthless, but he was very, like, he was not afraid to kill anybody. He was not afraid to punish.
He wasn't afraid to stir the pot, baby.
Yeah.
The way the podcast said it, I don't remember if this is a direct quote from him, but it's like a good like summation of who he is, regardless of what side you said it. It was people say that it's better to be loved than feared, and he would say, "Why can't you have both?"
Yeah.
Right.
Damn, this fool's a badass, dude.
But the thing is like the people that he's killing and the way it's like I said, when people say like he was a killer and he would steal and all this stuff, it's like, okay, who was he stealing from? Who was he killing? What was he doing? He like the whole reparations and restitution. He was literally stealing from. Okay, in his early career, I have to go all the way back because when he was 5 years old, his dad died. He became a farmer, and he had to like at 5 wake up at 4:30 in the morning and like till the land.
Yeah.
He walked miles, and and after a while he said fuck that, and he became a bandit, and he just started stealing shit and like robbing banks and sticking up trains and all kinds and
Which,
stuff
come
like
on,
that.
let's be honest. If we can get away with that, will we do that?
It sounds like Batman.
It sounds pretty cool.
It sounds pretty tight.
But so people say like, yeah, he was a thief, but then there's like stories of him like even when he was just a bandit that he would like make big scores and then just take what he needed and give the rest away to like, and that's been something that's been like a defining characteristic of Pancho Villa throughout his life. So then he ends up getting captured, and then he joins the military, or his punishment is for him to join the military, which is kind of stupid because now he becomes like a trained fighter and becomes like a tactician. He also still doesn't like to listen to authority, so he ends up like punching an officer and stealing his horse and escaping. But then he gets mixed in
Victoriano Huerta and versus him in 1913-14, right?
Yeah, so this is after Madero died. So
yeah,
essentially he becomes a general for Madero in overthrowing Diaz.
Yeah.
And he kind of becomes Madero's kind of protege. Like that's where he gets his ideas of democracy and righteousness, and that's where he becomes a revolutionary, is fighting for Madero. Now when Madero actually gains power and makes Huerta his general, the general hates Villa and he wants him killed. So Villa goes to Madero and is like, "What?" He's like, "You can't kill me. I was your boy, right?"
Yeah.
And so Madero essentially was like, "The best I could do is we can't kill you, but we'll throw you in jail. Like, but you won't die." So
also, supposedly, just a small added fact to that, in his transport, once his execution was stayed, he was sent to prison, and on the transport, it is alleged that his execution was still ordered, but it was like, so like he ordered an assassination attempt on him, and it just like didn't happen. Like either, nobody knows specifically why, either they ignored him or it didn't get to them before they got to the prison. But this is a crazy fact about him. Like there's so many weird, small, cool facts about how he ran things.
he just keeps escaping.
Yeah.
He's good at
how
giving
he
the slip.
escaped is like a really interesting story.
Okay, so get into how he escaped from prison.
Okay, so
First,
the first thing that he does is he figures out how to make molds for the keys.
well, he convinced someone to get him the molds.
He gets the molds for the keys. The fool that didn't do any research is correcting me.
Yeah.
I retained the information I learned on the way here.
Anyway,
Okay, continue. Yes.
he gets molds for the keys, and he helps break out a bunch of other. And so I have to say this: when he was in prison, when he was a prisoner, that's where he met a lot of military leaders and a lot of other revolutionaries. He met Magaña, who was a lieutenant for Zapata, and that's where he read the plan of Ayala. That's where he read a lot of like, he kind of just like cemented this idea of democracy, freedom, power for the people, kind of a thing.
I'm stuck on the character thing. Can Magaña possibly be Ryan?
I don't know anything about Magaña.
I could be the clerk.
Continue. Yeah, continue.
I could be the clerk.
You're the jailhouse clerk that I got the mold from.
No. It gets even better.
It comes better.
Okay,
So what happens is, they break out. They unlock all their cells and break out. But what happens is there's a guard room that is supposed to be empty. That Villa was like, this is going to be empty, and they sneak up on it, and it's filled with guards.
Oh shit!
So they're like, we got to get the fuck out of here. They all go back to their
cells,
and like that plan is busted because now they know the guards are always going to be there, and they won't have a way to break out. So what Villa does is he befriends the jail clerk and starts like offering like trades and stuff, and they become really good friends. So then what the clerk does is, because the clerk is in charge of getting supplies and stuff, he helps get a suit that lawyers wear because they're doing like, there was meeting with their prisoners and stuff, their clients. He gets a suit for Pancho Villa to wear.
And a saw.
And a saw to break out of his shit, right? And so they break out and they walk out the front door dressed as lawyers pretending to have a legal conversation.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So me and Ryan Brian helps me break out of jail.
And here's one thing that I wanted to preface from, the
First of all, you're the clerk. Keep going.
From the brief research that I did, and this is why I think it's so cool, is he was not like a manipulative person. He wasn't tricking this guy into being his friend. He was just like a very, honest, genuine person, and it was easy for him to like gain allies in like one-on-one situations.
That's the thing about Villa that like keeps coming up, is that how personable he was, how charismatic
it's like so
he
crazy
was.
That like he could have been an evil piece of shit and he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, he, from what I can tell, he had firm beliefs in what is right, even if he was killing people and stealing.
He's Batman.
He had a strong moral backbone.
Yeah, so they escaped.
That allowed him to kill people sometimes. Okay.
Yeah. So him and the clerk escape, and they go to Texas. They escape to Texas.
Yes.
And some crazy hijinks happen along the way, but I forget the
Meanwhile, details. Huerta, he didn't flee to the United States. This fool had to flee to Europe, dog.
Damn.
Imagine being so hated by your people that you got to go across the sea, dog.
Huerta?
Huerta. He fled to Europe.
This is much later, though.
Yeah.
Just a small thing to add to the clerk thing.
Yeah.
That guy stuck around the whole time. Like later on, when Villa is Villa, that guy became like one of his lieutenants.
That's what I was going to say. So while Villa is on the lam, Huerta assassinates Madero.
Yeah.
Villa tries to warn Madero, but it doesn't work. So Madero gets assassinated. He gets word of that, and then now all of a sudden, as soon as Madero took power and like fell through on all of his promises, Villa became an instant critic, and he was quoted as telling when he learned that he was going to keep the current government structure. He essentially told them like, you've ruined the revolution. These people fooled you, and now we're all gonna die, including you. Yeah. And so but when he found out that Madero was assassinated, I think it was like a thing of like being his protege, being close to him, being a friend, and like being his original inspiration for democracy. Something came over him, and now he had a martyr. Like Madero, now he only spoke highly of Madero. Yeah. He became a figure of like what it means to be righteous and what it means to be right.
That was like the weird, sorry to cut thing, not the weird thing, but that was like another thing that they maintained was like, even, he became hit over the course of him being in prison. He grew to like, what was the word? Be critical of Madero, especially like that he's like not letting him out of prison. Like, he thought that was fucked up, but like up until a specific point, he was still like one of his followers. Like even like the first like beginning of him being in prison, he was like, okay, when am I gonna get out now? Because I'm still like, as far as he knew, he never did anything to deserve going to prison. He didn't understand why he was in prison.
It was Huerta that put him in prison.
And so it was a thing of like, this guy was still like his friend, even after he stopped like agreeing with him. Yeah. Yeah. And so even after the point where he stops like agreeing with how he's doing things, when he finds that he dies, it's still like, I still, believe that this guy was a good man at heart. And anyway, goodbye.
So he learns about that. So now he's like, all right, I got to go back to Mexico. And this fool starts with 9 other dudes, including the city clerk, the jail clerk, who I don't know his name.
Hell yeah, dude, my best friend.
He goes back with him. They
coffee,
have
salt, and spice.
Coffee, salt, and sugar.
And 9 people, right?
And 9
and everything
people.
Nice.
So what he does, but this is where he starts that Robin Hood shit.
Yes.
Is he starts with 9 guys, and the thing that he does first is he starts stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, taking over haciendas and giving them to the peasants, to the workers, and doing the restitution thing where he, if he found out that somebody was abusing their workers, he would have them executed.
So quickly, just explain what a hacienda is.
Hacienda is essentially like a farm. It's like a work. It's essentially a farm.
It's a ranch.
It's a ranch.
Yeah, you said it really fast and then you kept going. All right, continue.
Yeah. It's essentially a ranch. It's a place where
a ranch.
A ranch.
A ranch.
It's a farm where people that don't live there work there.
Okay.
It's a ranch.
Right.
Continue. Yes.
And so he starts doing this whole Robin Hood shit and starts recruiting people. And after 6 months, he grows from 9 people to 700 people, I think.
Damn.
Pretty good sized army. And one of the things he does too is one of the reasons why he was beloved and why people followed him was because he was principled and he stuck to them and he didn't contradict himself. So they would take over haciendas or they would raid a city, and he would only take what they needed, give the rest away. And he always paid his men on time and what they're due. He kept to his word, and he kind of was this like figure of like, he didn't let, he's
very disciplined.
He's very disciplined. The reason why revolutionaries were oftentimes, called thugs and bandits and shit was because a lot of them, just didn't like the government and were really just like raiding villages and stealing shit and in it for the riches. And this fool was like, nah, I'm not about the riches, and none of my men could be. Yeah. So if he caught anybody stealing from poor people, he would have his men killed, his own men killed. If he learned about other bandits in the area that were stealing from poor people, he would have them killed. He became this figurehead of righteousness. And he's like built a small army, and then after that, like he's very tactical. He was a unifier. He came and was like, look, none of us right now, it's working for us that we're able to all be separate factions and just do our own thing and fight against the government. Because essentially what was happening was you had revolutionary groups scattered throughout Mexico, and it was spreading the military thin. Yeah. And that was working for a time, but then what started to happen was Huerta kind of figured out that, hey, if I can squash these people one at a time. Yeah. And that's what he started doing. So Pancho Villa was like, we all need to band together. And
that was the thing too, is that he understood that was going to happen, but he didn't try to convince people. That he like allowed them to come to that decision on their own, and then they picked him because he was the most like notable person. That was like a crazy thing about that.
He essentially became the Aztec Empire.
Yeah. Yeah, like exactly how the Aztecs did it.
Yeah.
And then
he manifested it.
Then we go towards Huerta dipping the fuck out, right?
Right.
Huerta flees to Germany with German boats because he's so hated he can't even go to America.
Yeah, and I feel like Orozco took over.
Yeah, so Venustiano Carranza.
That was the guy. Carranza takes power.
Yes.
I would say at this point, my research stopped.
But also, Carranza was just the same old medicine. It's like the federal government by now was just the same thing over and over and over again, right?
But also, Carranza was supported by the U.S. government. Yeah. So it's the same story.
So when Carranza takes power, that's when Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa joined forces.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, but we didn't talk. Okay, I just want to say this about the whole. So Pancho Villa killed Americans. He killed 30 Americans.
Yeah. Didn't he attack somewhere in New Mexico?
He attacked a city called Columbus. I don't know if that was a story that I heard. I don't know. I know it was in Columbus, Ohio. I'm pretty sure it was Columbus, New Mexico. But so there's the story, and this is one of the reasons. So up until this point, the United States loves Pancho Villa because he is a Robin Hood, and because they're like, get a load of Mexico, this fucking war-torn country. They can't get their shit together. Now you have Pancho Villa, who's this hero, this folk hero. Yeah. And up until this point, they're all giving him praise. Now, a lot of the reasons why Pancho Villa was so successful was because he was buying weapons and supplies from the United States. Yeah. Now, the story that a lot of people hear is that he just raided the city, Columbus, and took his shit and bounced. And it was also egg on his face because he had a lot of his own men killed in this raid.
I'm so sorry. I have to pee.
All right. Sorry about that. We had to take a restroom break. So, where were we?
So, just to get a final picture of Pancho Villa, one of the reasons why he was so successful, he was the best armed. His army was they were the best armed and best trained out of most of the other revolutionaries.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and because he was working with the United States and getting supplies from them. Now, the story that a lot of people hear is he was just desperate for supplies and attacked this town and just raided it and got his shit. And unfortunately, 100 of his men were killed because they attacked machine gunners.
Yeah.
So, but what I found out, what a lot of people pointed out in comments and stuff, it's just flooded with this story, is that like Pancho Villa paid Americans for supplies, paid for ammunition, and they sent him blanks. So he was like, well, fuck that.
Yeah.
That was the first time. This whole time he's been saying we're not going to fuck with. He wrote a letter to the United States government that said we're not going to fuck with your shit. We're not going to attack your farms. We're not going to attack your supply chains. Yeah. So that's the reason why he attacked this town, and that's a lot of the reason why he did what he did, was to recoup his losses.
Imagine it was just a mistake that they sent him blanks.
It was a Hollywood movie production.
They're like, what do you mean he got that package? And
yeah,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
crazy.
I'm sorry, because when you said successful, you switched the K and the S sound. So it sounded like you're saying the reason he was so sexy.
So, to round out the ending of this section here, we basically end off here with Emiliano and Villa joining forces. And, they're both very different people. Mm-hmm. Emiliano, like we said, is very rational, and Villa's like, they sent me blanks, I send them death. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's very passionate.
Yeah. So, how do we end this episode? Do we end with...
Well, I kind of want to hear a little bit about Zapata, if you don't mind. Like, if...
I mean, other than... mostly what I wanted to bring to the table was the whole inception of lower class freedoms. And... Right. The fact that it wasn't a communist ideal, it was literally like, give us what you took from us. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't him going and attacking Distrito Federal and fucking murdering 30 people. He did it in a very rational way. He created documentation of like, this is what the plan is and this is what you're going to do. And I'm pretty sure he found a president to instill that, right? Or am I wrong? Let me look that up really quick.
It was not Carranza. It was whoever was after Carranza. And then that was the thing, is that there was a lot of fighting. There's just like, the Zapatistas and Pancho Villa were a constant pain in the side of the government.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so it says Vestiano Carranza was like, yo, dog, I'm going to resign, but these two motherfuckers got to get the fuck out of Mexico.
Yeah.
But Villa and Zapata were like, no, fool, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But essentially what happened is somebody, I forget the name of whoever took over, somebody takes over and was like, you guys have to stop.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God.
For the love of Mexico.
Yeah.
That just reminded me a different Patreon episode, but when you were talking about the Luke brothers, like, you guys have to leave. You're causing trouble just being here.
Yeah. They I know for Pancho Villa, they gave him land. They gave him like 20 acres, and he started essentially like a compound.
They gave Villa?
Yeah. They gave Villa un Villa.
He was apparently succeeded by Adolfo de la Huerta.
Yes, de la Huerta. That was the guy.
More
See,
like
this is where I get confused. There's so many names.
Yeah, it is. We did say a lot of names. I'll do my best to make like graphic images.
I've been giving them nicknames in my head this whole time.
What are some nicknames? We'll round it out here with the nicknames that Ryan gave.
Like Muerta, that was a good one.
Oh my, that's the only one you thought of, huh? Jesus Christ.
How did you feel learning about all this stuff?
Great.
I did find more respect for Pancho Villa. I did have a lot of respect for him already. But like I said, people telling me that it wasn't okay to like him as a figure because of what he did in America, whatever it was. But while watching this, I'm like, dude, they're so smart. Zapata is so smart. Villa is so smart. I want to think of another word other than so smart. But
There's Manuel Chao.
Who?
Manuel Chao.
Who's that?
He was another revolutionary.
But the fact that they were all able to set aside differences and come together for the liberation of the lower class people, you know, stop being treated as some fucking just like trash. I don't know. Yeah. I also thought a lot about machismo when I was reading this. I mean, Pancho Villa going in and killing people. And also, I mean, I heard stuff that he was a rapist. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, when you're pillaging, what's to stop him?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't say that he's not, and I can't say that he wouldn't do that stuff.
Yeah.
I know that he had a compound with many wives.
Yeah.
So
it was also the early 1900s.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the modern day society we have now.
Right.
Not to say that it was okay. I'm just saying that's the time he was living in.
You know, I want to say benefit of the... I don't even want to say benefit of the doubt, but I'm just saying based off the information that was given, that because he would execute rapists.
See? Okay. See,
yeah.
You never hear about that.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like, as far as I could tell, you know, there's nothing definitive to point to that other than speculation. Like, even calling it pillaging, as far as I can tell, how he acquired assets, it wasn't until that particular incident or around that time that was anything close to what you would consider pillaging.
And it's gross to me, too, that there's such a negative connotation of him in America because Mexicans look up to this guy. Yeah. So, for Americans, it's like, Pancho Villa was a terrible person. And, you know, therefore, some kind of like mind game where it's like all Mexicans that look up to Pancho Villa are terrible people also.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I always try to pay attention to who I'm getting the information from and who they got their information from and why are they telling this story. Like that British dude, he's just making content. He doesn't give a fuck about Pancho Villa. So honestly, he's just going to say whatever he thinks sounds nice. Honestly,
you know, looking back at it, it feels like a tactic somehow. Like it's a thing of like anyone we have that was supposed to be a source of, you know,
a beacon of hope or whatever,
a beacon of like what we could be or what we should be or what we deserve.
There we go, Ryan. You got it.
You know, was put in a bad light to kind of deter us from wanting to look at it. Like you see all these, you know, people who are you know, like our generation or more, in the sense of like, you know, they're the descendants of Mexicans, and even some people that are like first generation Mexican American who have this idea that it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we get messages all the time on TikTok like why this doesn't matter, this is nothing, like
it's not about skin color.
Yeah, like you live in America now, like it doesn't matter. He's like it does. It matters because they're trying to make us think that it's not important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because they're trying to distract you from the fact that you're thought of as less than.
Yeah.
It's a way to suppress future revolutions.
Yeah.
To say that, not just to say that he's a scoundrel. Anytime somebody says that some fool's a scoundrel, I gotta look at who is saying that. You know what I mean?
I like the three words that are always funny to me when they're used in regards to history are scoundrel, cahoots, and hijinks.
All I'm gonna say,
you sound like you're talking about a little rascal.
All I'm gonna say about
Zapata was in cahoots with Villa, who was a scoundrel,
and they got into some hijinks,
and they got into hijinks together. Yeah,
plan de la hijinks. The last thing I'm gonna say about all this stuff is that I really enjoyed researching it. I'm really excited about talking about the Mexican Revolution.
Yes,
about Mexican independence.
Yeah,
because I did start a little bit of that already. I have been filled with so much pride this whole weekend just doing all this research, and I'm really excited to learn more, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you think it's cool, and
let us know what you think in the comments. And next week will be Mexican independence. My bad. The week after that will be Aztec history.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good?
I thought it was funny. This is a small funny story about the one fact that I knew before any of this research was that the Independence Day was the 16th. And the reason I knew that is because there was, at our old elementary school, most of the teachers were white. Most of the staff was white, except for like cafeteria and janitorial. But all of the women that worked in the main office, that worked under the principal, were Hispanic. And there was a small typo when I was transferring. I want to say between my first and second grade years, where a 0 was typed as a 1, so they thought my birthday was September 16th. It's the 6th. It's coming up. And so I remember them all like liking me because of that, because they were like, "Oh, your birthday's on Mexican Independence Day." I was like, "It is? It's on the 6th?" And then she's like, "No, it's the 16th." And I was like, "Oh, that's not my birthday. That's a mistake." And then they all like together were like, "Oh, that's disappointing."
Anyway, so that's this week's episode.
Woo.
And let us know what you think in the comments. Follow us on Instagram if you haven't already at IsimoPod, ISIMOPOD. I'm going to task one of you to post independent shit every day of September.
Okay.
You guys down to do that?
Yeah.
And then we'll just communicate in the group chat and see who does what days. So, also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching if you watched this far. Comment down below. Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa are badasses if you made it this far. And please like and subscribe. Also follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rate and review on Apple Podcasts so that we can get a sick-ass historian at the end of this month to come in and talk to us.
That'd be tight.
That's the goal right now. The short-term goal is to get that. And yeah, thank you so much. Join our Patreon for as little as $5 a month. You can get exclusive content to our more unedited, kind of looser episodes that happen every Friday or Saturday or Sunday. I have a lot to edit. So, yeah, thank you very much. And from us here at the Isimo Studios,
don't fly.
Don't fly.
Isimo Podcast.